My name's Emil Nava. I usually make music videos. I wanted to make a show that explores music and creativity through mental health and wellness. I wanted to be in nature. So I'm on the road, meeting amazing people.
Today I'm in London, England, chatting to my good friend Jordan Stevens.
There's a real reason why, healthy choices are a good thing. It's not unappealing or lame. I gotta let him roam free a bit. Hello.
This is Devasa.
Hi Devasa. Oh, great name. Oh.
Welcome to the nature. I think it's very brave to take, not a pivot like that, but to focus so much time and energy into something that is so different to what you were doing.
Yeah.
Just really interested in how that came about.
It wasn't a conscious choice. It just felt like a natural progression. What I didn't have was a connection between my mind and my body for a while. I was kind of cut off and just operating in my head, being very intellectual about things and trying to survive in this intense industry. When I took a step away from that and then went through this heartbreak, which is why I wrote the book, I was reconnected with my body, which was quite an intense feeling. And then I realized I didn't really know how to feel, and I'd been suppressing sadness and importantly anger for years and years and years, kind of throwing it away into drug addiction and shit like that. And so naturally, but still that part of me, the desire to be like, I need to share this, because I'd been asked to write a book about men for a while and I didn't feel equipped to, because I don't feel like I don't know enough. I feel like I know more now, but I don't want to write a prescriptive book. I don't want to tell people how to be. But every time I'd speak to people about how I turned sober or how I've managed to reorientate my life now, I would always return to the same story. And so I literally sat with a friend of mine, Adam, who's an incredible playwright, and he just helped me structure it out into a book. And then that's really why I did it.
Wow.
But also I kind of think like my life is a tiny thing in the scheme of everything. And I have an ability to communicate, and I also have the opportunity to be truthful in that communication. So I'm not going to let an idea stop me from doing that, So if I have been very honest, or some people have described the book as brutal to myself more than anyone, that's because I think I only have this opportunity while I'm alive to try and write stuff like this and hope that it lives beyond me.
Yeah. Obviously it felt like it was quite a purposeful choice to not speak about your kind of career in the book and the fame. But what was that conscious decision then?
Yeah, so I didn't talk about Rizzle Kicks in the book because I wanted the book to be about heartbreak, and because that was the real motivating force. Was I don't know how many straight men are talking about heartbreak or dissecting it, breaking it down. I mean, there will be. It's just not. I remember when I went through that heartbreak, I didn't necessarily have many cultural touch points to help guide me. Yeah. So I wanted men to feel guided, and one of the things about grief is that it's a completely universal concept. There's not a single person on the planet that isn't going to feel grief. There's no amount of money or success or notoriety that can pull you away from grief. It can numb you to it, but you still have to experience it. And so I wanted to be clear that my experience of heartbreak was no different because of my notoriety or because of whatever else. I mentioned at the beginning of the book, I had some time and money which allowed me, well, actually I festered with the time a little bit because I wasn't distracted, and the money was spent on therapy, and I ran away at one point to South America. So I explain how I am able to afford some of the choices that I go through, but ultimately the pain is the same. And also the other thing I allude to is the dream I was sold as a boy about power, notoriety, getting women, money. I mentioned that very early on, and just be like, yeah, again, I was sold this idea, but the reality of it is very short term, very fleeting, and doesn't really mean much for my overall well-being.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I didn't want the book to be a tell-all. I barely even wanted it to be a memoir. It's only about 6 months of my life. It's I wanted to get my heart and cut it up into all little pieces and get a magnifying glass and be like, look, this is how, and there's all these topics that people just tiptoe around, cheating or drug addiction or even just men talking about their bodies, men talking about fear, talking about their fantasies. I just wanted to just push those notions and not have it. I felt like anything else was too much of a distraction. I didn't want my face on the cover. I didn't want there to be any stories outside of. Right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
There was a quote I saw on the internet which resonated with me deeply, which is like, the more I heal, the less ambitious I am.
Yeah, wow.
And then I thought to myself, that's kind of crazy. Like I do feel, like I want to do things I enjoy, and I have goals. I need purpose. But am I manically trying to achieve loads of things nowadays? Probably not.
I do think about this a lot, and I do actually struggle with it quite a lot as I get older and more calm, and like I've got kids now, and like everything kind of shifts, like with you. I do worry about ambition, like where because I do think as humans purpose is so key, right? You want to have purpose.
Yeah.
But as I do become more calm and more like at peace, I do feel like less and less like I need to achieve something.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, but it gets. I feel it's also like scary, isn't it?
It is scary, and I'd be fascinated if I could guarantee enough residuals in my life to come off social media, to just be able to live off whatever I'd produced. I would do it 100%. I'd come off, but I'd be really interested to see if my ego could handle not being there.
I think that all the time. Yeah, I think that all the time. I spend a lot of my days trying to work out like why I want to be validated, or like what is it, like why do I sometimes I go, no, it's because I need to put out to the world, I need to give to the world.
Yeah.
But then I sometimes think like, but is that just totally selfish? Is that because I just feel I need to, like, does the world actually need me to say anything or do anything?
It's just I think it's just the purpose thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just if we're creative and our outlet is, I'm going to create something. I think if we didn't have that, that's what I can't lose. It's not. I don't think when I say no ambition, I'm not meaning no purpose. You know what I mean? Because it could be a small thing, and the expectation can be low.
Yeah, I spoke to my brother the other day. He did ayahuasca, he's quite into it. And I said to him, like, what was the most profound thing about it? And he was like, just the complete and utter like ego death.
Oh.
And I said to him, but then how do you wake up in the morning and get like motivated? And he said to me, that, every day all I want to do is like have connection with friends and family.
Yeah, connection. Oh, what a shout.
And
that's it. You're gaining connection.
Yeah, and he said, that's very easy.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, yeah. It's like when you realign what your purpose is, or what you are trying to get out of it.
Yeah, massively. All I've seen is 80 or 90% of young famous people are there because they're trying to escape something.
100%.
Like more often than not, you end up, getting your shit torn about because it's such a pressurized environment, and we put way too much onus in the society on money. And external material existences. Like it's tough to have that conversation because of how shit life, especially now more than ever financially, life is for people. People would do anything for material perks, but like, for me it's difficult to understand how many more people have to die young in the public eye for it to become clear that it's just, there's not really much there. Your life becomes tiny. You get hyper judged on nearly every decision in spite of your youth. Especially as a woman, you know what I mean? You're in that era. It's insane what it does to your mental state, So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend to my child to go and try and hit the heights before the age of 27, probably. I think it would be marathon vibes for me.
I know what you mean. I think escapism is such an interesting thing. I agree with you. Like, I feel like that's what my dad once said to me, he was like, why are you always trying to escape?
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember I just always think about it, because even now there's a part of me that sometimes feels that I still do it. I'm still doing fucking hot yoga, cold plunges, like all the things I'm doing.
Yeah.
Even though they're healthy.
You think it's an escape thing?
I do, yeah. I think that like I go to the gym, I jump in the lake, all the things that I do, it's like they're more healthy versions of escapism, but it's still escapism.
Yeah.
I do it as well. It's like always wanting like the next thing, it's like we always want to keep going. But ultimately, like there's nothing there. You can just keep going and you'll never find anything.
Yeah.
I remember that I watched this interview with J. Cole, and he was like saying something like, he wanted all the awards and the accolades and all this, and then like the moment he got it, he just was like, oh, I'm just the same motherfucker.
Same person.
Like, stood here.
Yeah, it's insane. One of the things that really helped me ground myself a little bit more while I've been kind of recovering is a thing that I had someone call game theory, I guess. Just accepting the reality that a goal has been achieved and then setting up a new game. Because we're creatives, we're always moving the goalpost, like you say. So we're going like, oh, I want to win this award. I want this award. Oh no, but I want to win that award. No, okay, but I want to win 3 of those awards. Oh no, but now I want to win. Oh, I got a platinum album. No, I want a double platinum album. Do you know what I mean? It's always capitalism, hyper productivity, growth.
Yeah,
but for me, for example, I've had a wild one where, my dream as a kid was to have a platinum album, and it happened on my first attempt. But because it happened so quickly, I never ever just sat there and was like, oh my God.
Wow,
I did it.
Yeah.
Like I actually completed music. For me, based off of my goal as a boy, platinum album, completed it. So now, when I'm talking, now Rizzle Kicks, we're doing more music now, we're gigging again. Like when I deep it, I'm just like, I don't have anything to prove. I've honestly completed music relative to me.
Yeah.
So we just have to understand that we have to be more realistic about our achievements, our goals, our expectations, and then I think we can just, enjoy these little moments.
Well said.
I think so.
And so when did you get sober then?
I'll be 7 years sober on January the 8th.
Wow, that's pretty much the same as me. I think I'm either 7 or 8 years in March. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Have you fallen off at all? Not once.
No, not once.
Wow. I had this thing recently where because I quit for like 5 years, nothing. Then I had like one night where I went absolutely off the fucking deep end.
Really? What, were you sad?
No, I wasn't actually. It was my birthday. And then I kind of got back on it. And then in the last year, actually, about 2 years, I was like, oh, I think I can have one. Like, maybe I've cracked it.
Yeah.
Like I had one and I didn't get that feeling. And then I had 2 and I didn't have that feeling. And then this year, I went about 2-3 months where every week, every Friday, I was like having one.
Yeah.
And I noticed that it was just really affecting, like, I suffer from depression a lot, and I think that like it was making that worse. And then so about 2-3 months ago, I was like, nah, it's got to be back to nothing.
I really don't miss alcohol at all. I really don't, and I actually feel like a bit panicky sometimes about society now, looking at it through a sober lens.
Yeah.
Because I just don't. I understand. I actually do understand why it's fun. I can't pretend to not get that. You know what I mean? Loosen yourself up a little bit, group activities. Lucid conversation. Like
Yeah.
I understand that, but if we start to push into that, that's where I think the real conversation is. Like, why do we have to drink to have fun?
Yeah, to have a
And that's the bigger conversation. And then here's one of my favourite examples. Yeah, in the 90s, when ecstasy was massive,
Yeah.
right? There was a complete reduction in football hooliganism.
No way.
Football hooligans were doing pills,
Yeah, just
having the
loving
time
each
of their
other.
life,
Yeah, yeah.
and then going raving after the games, just loving life.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest issue with football are people drinking too much. How on earth have we legislated for drink companies to sponsor football?
No, it's mad.
It's insane. And you wonder why people are losing their fucking minds, or they feel as though some places, it's not all places, because football matches, I'm sure you've been to many, are an incredible atmosphere. But like, yeah, the dickheads are drunk.
Yeah.
You want to talk about something as serious as domestic violence? Over half of all domestic violence is when people are drunk. You know? Is that like, I think actually alcoholism might be the biggest killer of men and women under 40. Firstly, we can't be banning other substances on the based off of the idea they're dangerous. Like, for example, Professor David Nutt talks about this. He's really interesting. He used to be the professor of medical health. He got fired because he basically told everybody that ecstasy is safer than riding a horse. And they were like, oh, you know, he's nuts. But he was just like, look, the stats are overwhelmingly suggestive that alcohol is so fucking dangerous.
Yeah,
it's so dangerous. Think of what it leads to. You know, drunk driving, poor decision making at clubs, at bars. Like, there's so many reasons why you shouldn't be, you know.
But then you can't like take a magic mushroom,
magic
which
mushrooms
is like from the fields.
If everybody was out doing magic mushrooms, again, not like crazy amounts, just like a little gram or whatever, just having a nice vibe, chill, you know, we'd have a different atmosphere. Ecstasy, again, the only issue with ecstasy or MDMA is that it's not made properly. All the horror stories are because some cowboy's making it. 100%. If you actually regulated something like that, people would be having a fucking great time. But I'm pretty sure it was initially given to, like, you know, married couples who are struggling, whatever. They're given fucking half a pill each and go like, repair your marriage, man.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're doing a lot of that now, aren't they, in America? Like, my therapist in America was telling me all about those kind of like...
Oh, the trials. Like,
yeah.
That's really it, man. Like, we need to be asking ourselves, why can we not be sat with other human beings without being drunk? That's not... What's that?
Yeah.
Or, like, I've gone clubbing in Ibiza sober. Incredible.
Yeah.
It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And then I'm sat there thinking, why wouldn't I want to be sober for this? Why wouldn't I want to, like, really, you know, or have something to fill me with love rather than, like, just, oh, I don't know what's going on. And then the moaning. Oh, my God, do you know what's kept me sober? It's just my mates fucking moaning about hangovers. Oh, my God. They're there like, oh, God, I'm never drinking again. Like, what? Like, we're adults.
That was kind
Where's
of
our discipline?
Yeah, that was it for me. It was almost the hangover. There was an element of like my destruction when I was like out of it, but also I think like the anxiety and the depression, the fear from the hangover.
Well, it's a self-fulfilling cycle, because the fear is then, you then are more anxious about going out, so you drink to deal with it.
No, exactly.
And actually, I read the other day that apparently the body, so if you have 3 drinks on it, this is so depressing by the way, if you have 3 drinks on a Sunday, it takes the body 4 to 5 days to repair.
Yeah, no, I say this to my mates all the time. It's
so that means 3 drinks.
So then by Thursday you're back on it.
So they'll be like, I would go as far as to say 90% of this country has actually never experienced, from 18 onwards or younger, 16 onwards, have never experienced a feeling of recovery in their whole life.
No, I think this all the time.
Another core theme of the book, which actually oddly haven't said that much because I kind of keep forgetting, but anger was huge for me in terms of actually learning how to express it.
Yeah.
I would suppress anger. My head always cools off actually when people get angry with me. I don't meet anger with anger.
Oh, interesting. You more like internal, like
I take it out on myself
and then explode, or it just more just.
I explode it in on myself.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to learn how to express it, because as my therapist was saying, I agree with her, anger is a really, really powerful emotion. We have conflated it with rage. You know, rage is toxic anger. Rage is, like you say, anger where you haven't expressed it at the right times, and so it's built up, and then it just goes. Being angry is really essential, because it's essentially a boundary. It's going, no, I don't like that, or leave me alone. You know, it doesn't have to be like, I fucking hate you, you're a piece of shit. That's rage. Be like, I'm not enjoying this, I'm gonna go home.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? That's actually anger.
Yeah.
But so I've been trying to get my head around that, and for me, tapping into my anger is what led me to love, you know, which is I thought was so interesting because again, I was raised to believe that love and anger were almost opposites, but they're really not. It's an essential ingredient. Well, for me, it was an essential ingredient in terms of harbouring a genuine, authentic love. I had to understand my boundaries, you know, and vice versa.
I am inside me, I think, a very angry person. You know, like I've done a lot of work on my anger, and I think that I've used anger to hide in all of my insecurities and hide my anxiety. You know, I think I use it to hide a lot of things. And I also heard this thing where, like, you know, when you go through a very traumatic childhood, you know, which I'm learning to believe I kind of did with my, you know, father and his mental illness and stuff, is like, they say that you either become kind of like broken and sad or broken and angry, you know,
right.
and I am definitely broken and angry. And it's something that I work on, yeah, I guess a lot, all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done a lot of therapy.
Do you reckon a lot of your drinking was rooted in
100%, yeah.
That's what it was for me.
I also think when you're young, you know, and you're just so full of testosterone and already you're kind of angry.
Yeah.
But I think I also just saw like a lot of anger.
You saw a lot of anger.
I saw a lot of, you know, pain and fighting and alcohol fueled. So, you know, in my early days.
So that's rage.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
rage.
What's the future got in store for you? What are you looking to do?
I just want to like create platforms and spaces and conversations where, yeah, young men can just have more localized, realistic, and love-based aspirations, you know. And I do, like I said at the start of this, I do feel compelled to promote certain values in my life so that young men just have like other options of vibe, you know.
It's a good conversation.
There are too many people promoting just this persistent inadequacy, you know, this idea that to begin with, obviously people need a certain amount of money to stay alive. I understand that, and we should all aspire to do that. But I don't know if there's any artistry in just this constant promotion of commercialism or this measurement of a person's worth in what they have. I want people to know that it's okay to be struggling, or it's okay to, you know, prioritize your community over getting a nice car, or, you know, like I've said this before, we live in a world that's upside down. Well, patriarchal capitalism is quite literally psychopathic in how it rewards things. And I'm not saying that in a hyperbolic social activism way. I mean it literally. The jobs that pay the most, that have the greatest return of investment, require a human being to completely isolate themselves, to let go of their entire life, work endlessly. And there's no requirement for a human to be a good person. There's no requirement for connection.
Yeah.
And then we're going to reward you with millions of pounds. You know, you don't have a relationship, your friends hate you, but you're rich, you know. Whereas the other side of it is, you want to be a nurse, a carer, a teacher, a social worker, community, anything. The first thing you have to accept is that you don't have any money. And then so imagine going into a world, especially as a boy or man, where people are like, yeah, you know, but like you need this car, or you need this jumper or watch in order to be a. No, you don't. Those people who are creating harmony in the community, they are the greatest people in our society. But why do we live in a society where?
So true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
100%.
it's a real ethical conflict I have in my head, because I guess the flip side is, if you were to financially reward those jobs more, would it then corrupt the people who were doing it?
Yeah.
It's really fucked.
It is.
It's fucked, you know. So I just want to like create platforms and spaces and conversations where yeah, young men can just have more localized, realistic, and love-based aspirations. You know. That's great.
Yeah. Do you want to give your little
Yes, what we were
message to the
saying,
view?
connection is everything. Stay human, and people shouldn't stop believing in love. It's a great feeling, and if that makes you feel uncomfortable, I'm sorry.
Well said. Cheers, mate.
Ah, bro.
That was so good. That was
Big
so
love.
good. Thank you.
My pleasure.